Monaco is smaller than Central Park. Let that sink in. This tiny patch of land, just 0.78 square miles, holds more billionaires per square foot than anywhere else on Earth. And most people walk its streets without ever knowing what's really happening behind closed doors. Here's a number that will stop you cold. Monaco has a GDP per capita of over $240,000. That makes it the wealthiest nation on the planet by a massive margin. But the official numbers, they only tell half the story. The real wealth, the private jets, the underground vaults, the secret dinner clubs, none of that shows up in any report. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We've dug into the hidden networks, the ultra-private estates, and the unwritten rules that govern life at the very top of Monaco's elite. Here's what we found. First, the real estate market in Monaco is so secretive, most properties never get listed publicly. They're sold through whisper networks before the public ever hears about them. Second, the social hierarchy inside Monaco is completely invisible to tourists. There's an inner circle that most residents never even get close to. Third, and this one shocked us, some of Monaco's wealthiest residents reportedly don't live there full-time. Yet they still hold all the benefits. We'll show you exactly how. This isn't just a story about money. This is a story about power, access, and a world most people don't even know exists. Let me show you exactly how this happened. To understand Monaco, you need to forget everything you think you know about rich people. Because Monaco isn't just a place where wealthy people live, it's a system, a very carefully designed system. The principality sits on the French Riviera, nestled between France and the Mediterranean Sea. It's ruled by the Grimaldi family, one of Europe's oldest royal dynasties. They've held power here since 1297. That's over 700 years. That kind of history doesn't just create tradition, it creates infrastructure, the kind that protects wealth across generations. Here's the first mini surprise. Monaco has zero income tax for residents. None. Not for individuals, anyway. And that one policy has shaped everything about this tiny nation. It turned a small rock on the Riviera into the world's most concentrated wealth hub. The second surprise? The waiting list to become a Monaco resident is incredibly strict. You don't just move here because you can afford it. You have to prove you can sustain yourself financially, permanently. Banks require significant deposits. The paperwork is extensive. The background checks are thorough. This isn't a place you stumble into. And the third surprise, Monaco only has around 38,000 residents. But of those, roughly 1 in 3 is a millionaire. Some estimates put the billionaire count in the dozens, in a place the size of a small neighborhood. Let's put that into perspective. If you randomly picked 100 people off the street in Monaco, statistically around 30 of them would be millionaires. Try that in any other city in the world. The numbers don't come close. Now, here's what most people get wrong. When people think of Monaco, they picture the casino at Monte Carlo, the glamorous parties, the Formula One Grand Prix winding through the streets. They picture tourists in nice clothes. But the real Monaco, the one where billionaires actually live, exists on a completely different plane. It exists in private dining rooms, on super yachts anchored just offshore, in penthouse apartments that never appear on any listing site, in invitation-only events with no social media presence whatsoever. The visible Monaco is a performance. Beautiful, yes, but it's the lobby of the building, not the building itself. The real story is what happens upstairs. Now here's where things get really interesting. Let's talk about real estate. Because Monaco's property market is unlike anything else in the world. The average price per square meter in Monaco? Around $50,000. Some properties go far beyond that. A single apartment in certain buildings can cost $30 million, $50 million or more. But here's what makes Monaco's real estate truly extraordinary. There isn't enough of it. The principality has almost no room left to build, so the supply is essentially frozen. And yet demand from ultra-wealthy buyers across the globe keeps rising every year. That combination creates one of the most extreme property markets ever recorded. And the most expensive properties? They never hit the open market. Imagine this. A billionaire decides to sell their penthouse. They don't call a real estate agency. They don't post a listing online. They make one phone call to a trusted broker with deep connections. That broker quietly reaches out to a handful of pre-vetted buyers. A deal is made. Papers are signed. The public never knew the property was available. This is called an off-market transaction, and in Monaco, it's not the exception, it's the rule at the highest levels. I'll explain why in a moment. But first, let's look at where these people actually live. The most prestigious address in Monaco is a neighborhood called Monte Carlo, specifically the area around the casino and the surrounding blocks. Properties here are generational assets. Some have been in the same family for decades. But there's a newer hotspot. It's called Fontvieille. Once an industrial area, it's been quietly transformed. Developers built upward, literally, constructing apartment towers with panoramic views of the Mediterranean. Buyers from Russia, the Middle East, Asia, and the Americas swept in. Prices exploded. And then there's La Condamine, the harbor district. Wake up here and you look out your window to see super yachts stretching as far as you can see. During the Monaco Grand Prix, the yachts that dock in that harbor reportedly rent for $1 million per week. Per week. Now, let's zoom in on those yachts. Because they're not just transportation, they're floating homes, private residences. Some are over 100 meters long. They have helipads, submarines, cinemas, multiple pools, and full crews of 20 to 30 staff. One vessel, reportedly owned by a tech billionaire, is said to have a full medical suite, a wine cellar with thousands of bottles, and a garage that holds custom sports cars, and it moves between Monaco, Sardinia, and the Greek islands on a seasonal schedule, following its owner's calendar. The yacht isn't an accessory to the lifestyle. For many Monaco billionaires, the yacht is the primary residence. But wait, if your home is a yacht anchored in international waters, are you really a Monaco resident? Yes, technically, and legally. As long as you maintain an address in Monaco, even a small apartment, you can claim residency, pay no income tax, and spend most of your actual time on the water. That revelation changes the picture dramatically. The billionaires of Monaco aren't all living in penthouses. Some of them are living on the sea, touching land just often enough to keep the paperwork valid. Now zoom out and connect the dots. Zero income tax. Scarce, appreciating property, off-market transactions, yachts as primary residences. All of these aren't just lifestyle choices. They're strategic moves in a very long game of wealth preservation. And the people playing this game have been playing it for generations. Connect to your own life for a moment. Think about where you pay taxes. Think about how much of your income disappears before you ever see it. Now imagine a world where that number is zero. Every investment compounds with no government taking a cut. Over a lifetime, the difference isn't just significant, it's civilizational. That's the foundation Monaco is built on. And the billionaires who live here didn't just stumble on this. They researched it. They planned for it. They moved here on purpose. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. There's a social hierarchy in Monaco that no outsider ever really sees. You can be worth $500 million and still be considered a newcomer, still be on the outside looking in, still not get invited to the dinners that matter. Because Monaco's inner circle isn't built on money alone, it's built on relationships. And those relationships take time. Let's break this down. At the very top sits the Grimaldi family. Prince Albert II and his inner circle have direct relationships with a small group of Monaco's longest established residents. These are families who have been here for decades. Old European money, discreet Arab wealth, certain Asian dynasties. They're not flashy. They don't post on Instagram. But they carry enormous influence. Beneath that inner circle is a second tier. Newer billionaires who have earned their way in through strategic philanthropy, business relationships, or social connections. This group is still elite, but they're aware of the ceiling above them. The top tier socializes differently, meets in smaller groups, at private estates, not public events. Then there's the third tier, the visible wealthy, the ones you see at the Grand Prix parties, the ones photographed at galas. They're genuinely rich, but in Monaco's context, they're still performing for an audience. The truly powerful don't perform. Here's where it gets really interesting. There are private clubs in Monaco that have no online presence, no website, no social media account. You won't find their address on Google. They exist through word of mouth only. Membership is by referral, and the referral process can take years. One type of gathering that reportedly exists, though specifics are deliberately vague, Involves informal dinner groups, very small, 8 to 12 people. The conversation is off the record. The attendees include wealth managers, politicians, business owners, and occasionally royalty from neighboring European states. No recordings, no phones at the table, no formal agenda. These gatherings are where real decisions get made. Business partnerships form. Capital gets allocated. Introductions happen that shape industries. And there's no way to buy your way into the room. You get invited, or you don't.